What's up, guys? Jones be back. So before getting into today's video, which is a serious video today, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, uh, go watch the latest video, which has been a while. There's some videos that are in the making right now. So like this AirDrop alternative for every device, go watch that video. I have another video that I posted about game optimized service and the throttling, because there was a throttling issue. But for today's video, we're talking about privacy, the right that we all should have, and how it's a warning to all that if you have a Samsung device, debloat it completely of Samsung services. Or if you don't have a Samsung device, don't buy a Samsung device. And here's why. If you go into detail about Samsung's privacy policy, which was updated October 1st of 2022, as we can see, as of 2022 of this year, as we can see, in those towards the end. If you read about the information that they obtain, it is highly intrusive. And this goes throughout all of their services. For example, when you start in this portion, even though some of this is normal information that's understandable, when you create a Samsung account, they'll take your contact information, your name, email address, postal address, phone number. That's understandable. But look at this one that's highlighted right now. These actually two and three of them that's highlighted. Hold on, it went to the top. When you use their services, let me move this out the way. Information that you store on your device, such as photos, contacts, text logs, touch interactions, settings, calendar information. That's one. That means that the people that you're texting, your contacts, and even the text with the text that you sent to those people, Samsung collects all of that into their servers. Not only that, the photos that you take and that's stored that you take using Samsung Gallery app and the camera app is stored in their servers. The contacts, so all your contacts, everyone that you talk to, that's saved in your contacts, is used. They have it stored. Touch interaction. Excuse me. That means that anytime you touch the device screen, that is being stored your calendar information. So birthdays, any event inside the calendar, whenever you use Samsung's calendar app, is stored on its Samsung servers. The recordings of your voice. That means that whenever you're on the phone, that they record your conversation, and then they say they tried to excuse it because there was backlash for it a few months ago. They said that they said recordings of your voice when you use voice commands to control a service. The service that they're talking about is, for example, if you use their Samsung keyboard, they store that information. So whenever there's a voice, there's a microphone that you click if you want to use voice typing, they store that. Or another example is if you use their calling app, the phone app that comes default on Samsung devices, they store that information. So your call, how long it was in it, how long you were on the phone, and everything, they store that. And then when you talk to the customer service team, which is understandable. But then you have this one, the last one, that's highlighted. That they say that they store location data, including the precise geolocation of your device, if you consent to the collection of this data. Well, here's the thing about that. When you go deep into Samsung settings, there is no place to consent to it. That's one, because they use a thing called Samsung Location SDK, which I debloated from my device, but I'll show you how you can see it. If you go into your settings, which you can see it looks different because I debloated it. If you went into apps and so then you clicked, and then you click system apps, show system apps. If you search for Samsung Location SDK, you will see it. That's how they constantly take your location in the background, regardless. This is why my phone looks different because I debloated it. And so then they also take nearby Wi-Fi access points and cell towers that may be transmitted. That's understandable. But what they also take then is your device, including your device information. So IP address, all of that. That's semi-understandable. The subscription information. So like for example, if you have subscription with Netflix, they store that information and the information that you enter using Samsung's keyboard. And if you use Samsung's browser, they store all of that. And so then the advertising, everything. That's it's not understandable, it's bad, but that's what they do. Your browser, it says your browser may tell you how to be notified when you receive. Their browser though does not tell you that. Samsung's browser does not tell you that. That's one reason why I recommend highly that you don't use it, even though it's good and even though it's feature rich and it's pre-installed. Okay, ads, yes we know. Now they say how. Now when we get to how it's going to the top again. Their website's always been buggy. Let me see. Okay, how we it always goes to the top. Okay, here we go. How we use this information with tech. It says to provide and enhance your services. When you see the customization services thing that's pre-installed, that says you could supposedly customize your services, make them more personalized. All that information, they're taking that, but to imagine that times two. So like every second that you use a Samsung app, they take the information. So it's even more. They say to communicate with you, provide customer support. Okay, okay. Comply with legal and with and enforce legal requirements. Okay, that's understandable. Protect against fraud. Let me go back to it because it keeps going. Look, to provide ads and stuff, and so to communicate with you. That's all understandable. But if you go to information sharing, they share with third parties. So look, whenever that means that your information such as your photos and stuff. Go back to it. Apparently it keeps going up for no reason. And there's it's even more when you go to California's portion because it goes into more detail about it. Let me ignore this for that. Then what was I saying? That means that your information such as your photos, your call logs, your call history, your texting, and everything that goes to third parties. Now, when you go to notice the California residents, I don't know why. Let me refresh the page because I don't know why it keeps going back and forth. Click notice California. Now, when you go into the California one, it tells you more. It goes into more detail about what they collect because above it's just summary because the rest of the United States doesn't have as strong as a privacy law as California, and then even some European countries have identifiers. So they take the identifiers. So the pixel cookies, things like, for example, before I debloated my phone, see if I highlighted this and do all of this and copy it, they store that. Any information I copy and paste, they would store that. But that's before you debloat it. Biometric activity. So, for example, if your Samsung device has Face ID, they take your face, they store it into their servers. Unless you can you don't have to remove the Face ID portion, but there's a portion that connects to it within the system settings that you can debloat. But I'll show you how to. I made a video about debloating, but I'll make another one about it. The online activity. So whenever you use, they don't tell you specifically, but when you go into the detail about the specific internet privacy policy, whenever you use the internet browser, you'll see that they take any information that you do, your browse, like they say here, your browsing history, your search history, and information regarding your interaction with website. So that means even the username and passwords you enter. They take that geolocation constantly in 24/7. That's the Samsung Location SDK. If you remove it, they can't do it no more. Sensory information. So, like for example, if the phone still has a headphone jack, you plug it into the headphone jack, Bluetooth earpieces, all of that. They take all of that in. And so inferences. It says that inferences drawn from any information identified above to create a profile. So whenever you type the predictions, the predictive text that it does, whenever you use the Samsung's keyboard, that's what they use the information that you type into the keyboard. So everything. Let's see. This is saying why they use it. It keeps still going up. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, it needs to stop going up. So it says your choices, but if unless you live in places such as Europe, the European countries in the European Union, or where the GDPR, I hope I'm saying it right, where it complies, it does that your choice. You don't really have a choice. Same way, unless you live in California in the United States, if you live in California, that's the only place you have a choice really. Now the way to get around it, I can't. The way to get around it, I don't know whether it's too legal. So some people have you may have to research about it. You could though it's falsification. Actually, I don't know whether I wouldn't say that it's legal in a way though. Honestly, but I don't. As far as I know, there's no law saying you can't. You can enter a different when you set up your Samsung account. You can enter a place within Europe, a country within Europe. But I don't know how legal that would be to do so. And so it says how to contact them and stuff. And so hold on. See, this is an important portion. But see, it's not aligned. See, if you look at the source of their personal information under the California portion, it says from you or your devices. So, for example, when you do the use of their services, so the phone app, the messaging, the Samsung messaging app, the their browser, their camera, their gallery, the sharing, they share with their affiliates and subsidiaries, their vendors who provide services on their behalf. So, see, they share your data. So that's again, that's your like your photos and stuff. They share all of that. Then they also sell it. See, they sell identifiers such as a unique personal identifier. Cookies and stuff, that means like your browsing history. They'll sell it. Your username and passwords, they sell it, which they collect through their Samsung browser. So then they give the rights that California people of California have because of California's privacy policy. Now, to get around this, I would say if you look at my Android, it's completely debloated of Samsung things. Even the camera app, I got a different camera app completely. It looks like Google's is not. It's Google's, but it's a modded version of it. Google Clock, everything is mostly Google on here. Now, as much as we can complain about Google, Google does not sell. Google they store some of your stuff, but they don't sell it. Like for example, see Google. This came from specifically from Google Photos and came from Google. It says Google does not sell your photos, videos, or personal information to anyone, and we don't use your photos and videos for advertising. Samsung does, if as we read in the privacy policy. But yes, Google is bad. But between the two, who is better? I would say Google. I would trust Google more than I would say Samsung to some extent. If we even look at it, Lifehacker made an article about it because people started complaining about it over Reddit. They said that it's intrusive. Look, see, they said, however, Samsung also knows that it will collect data such as credit card information, usernames, and passwords for third party services. Mean that usernames and passwords that you enter using their keyboard and on their browser, that they will send that to third party services. They will use it. They'll also collect photos, contacts, text logs, recordings of your voice generated commands, and location data, including precise location as well as nearby Wi-Fi access points and towers. And they also keep chat transcripts, contact, and voice recordings, as I said. And then they said that it also tracks your activity via cookies and all of that. So, as that's all bad. As much as we can complain about Google doing it, this one I feel is worse. But here's the way to do it. Here's the way to get around that. There's this thing called the universal Android debloater. So what you do, you can search it up. It's on GitHub. I'll put all links in the description. When you download it, it's not really an app to an extent. So let's scroll down. These are all the OEMs and supports and stuff. Has the Windows one. You have to set up ADB and stuff. I made a video about that. I'll put the link in the description. And so then overall, once you do it, let me look for it. See what it's here and it's in here because I just used it. Universal. Okay, can't find it here, so let me use the other one. So then, see, once you download it, make this full screen. Under downloads, see open file. So see it's saying find a connected file. With this, let me show you all. Then lock the. Okay, so what you do first, go into settings so you can set this up completely. You go into about phone, you go to software information, and so then you click the build number 7 times. Go into the developer options to turn on. Then you go into developer options. Make sure USB debugging is on. This is important to do this. Make sure that is on. So now what you do, plug in your Samsung device into the computer, connect it to the computer using your charger. So see, you'll know it recognizes it once it makes the charging logo. And so now, and so see, you don't have to accept or anything about that, about accessing your data. So see, it recognizes it. So see, once this is done, see, it'll pull up all this. It'll pull up all the apps on your phone. As you can see, majority of I don't really have that many that's recommended because I debloated the phone. I debloated my device already. Let me split this screen. So as you can see, mostly just Google apps outside of the other occasional apps. So what you do under recommended, you can click and it'll tell you could click on the app and so then it'll tell you what it does. For example, Chrome, it says occasionally the rest of the background just use Firefox instead. Superior. Chrome instead of Firefox, I would not recommend Firefox. More I would recommend Brave because I feel Brave is better. I don't know. So see Brave, I would recommend you use Brave because as you can tell at the bottom, data safety, they collect no data is collected at all whatsoever. It's been proven security experts have shown they don't collect data. So I would recommend Brave over Firefox and Chrome. But I just use Chrome to show you all. And Brave blocks ads and YouTube videos too. And so then basically, let me just show you with an example of Chrome. So for example, when you select Chrome, you could either click uninstall here or if you select multiple apps, just keep selecting select Chrome, select Google Maps. Yeah, I just select those two. And so see, you click uninstall. Let me not uninstall Maps. Just actually, I can uninstall it. It's fine. So you uninstall it, and so then see, look, it uninstalls it. So eventually, it'll disappear from my screen, from my Android screen, from the Samsung Watch. See, so now both of them are disappeared. One UI, the launcher, it also collects data, which I'll show you, but I don't have a browser right now. So I just uninstalled it. So let me install Brave real quick, and so then I'll show you. I'll even walk you all through the setup process of Brave. So once it installs, we'll get back to it. Okay, it's installing. It should be done in a few seconds. But now let's time in there. Let's see. While it's doing that, as I said before, like, comment, subscribe, and more videos are coming on the way. 2023 gonna go crazy. It's installed. So what you do? Open the app. I'll show you all how to set it up and everything. So it's loading. So you can set it as the default browser. It's automatically going to be set because I have no browser. I removed Samsung browser too. But you can set it as default. Click. It's okay. I have other browsers. I forgot. And so then you could send anonymous crash data if you want to, but for best privacy, don't do it. I don't ever send anonymous data to no company. So see, when you type in like YouTube, for example, YouTube won't have no ads. You could go into settings. You can remove the ads because sometimes it could be ads on the. It's a new tab. So when you go into new tab page, you could say you can remove sponsored images. Click later when it asks to restart the browser because there's other things. When you go into appearance, remove the bottom bar. At least in my opinion, I remove it and remove the Brave rewards. So then relaunch the browser. And so now it's done. So you get Brave News privacy efficient because it doesn't use any information from you, and so you get news. So now Brave better alternative. That's how you set it up and everything. You download it on your Windows laptop, or if you have iOS device, works on iOS, iPad OS, all of them, Android, Windows, Mac OS, all of them. So that's one thing. So hold on, let me put Brave on right here. Next, One UI. I'll pull up and I'll show you what One UI collects. Okay, I forgot. I uninstalled it, so I can't exactly show you all. However, this is another article that talks about it. It goes into even more depth about it. So let me scroll down. Let me show you a portion where it talks about. Look, it says so right here. Samsung appears. This is one point. Samsung appears to have quietly created and created an intricate system for collecting different types of data from people who own its phones and then generating extra revenue by selling that data to third parties. Let's see. They show a picture of it. Like for example, Samsung Pay, they got in trouble about this before because they did not have a do not sell your personal information. But see now, as it shows here, it says your work profile makes Samsung Pay work to according to your personal needs. It can be locked away from their pay partners. But because it's already in the privacy policy, I doubt that this would exactly go. That this is exactly it doesn't void it. I doubt it because it seems like all Samsung services they all go linked to that same privacy policy. Samsung Gallery, Samsung Internet, all of them, they don't have their own privacy policy based on the app. But yeah, you can say do not sell. It mostly goes for Californians though. And so see, this is it talks about the things that we went into detail about that identifies commercial information and stuff. So what you do instead of that, I once I debloated the device, as I showed you all with the university bloater, I changed my phone app to Google Phone Messaging to Google Messaging. You can use Chrome or Brave. Brave is preferable for privacy. They even have their own search engine, which is Brave Search. It's the reason being is that Google's phone app does not collect data. It does not collect your call data. Google Messages end-to-end encrypted for the most part doesn't collect. Google Photos doesn't sell your data. That's the reason why I changed to it. And then in order to install One UI though, you must have another launcher. Launcher that I would recommend, open source Launcher 12. It give any Android device, as long as it's Android 8 and above, it'll give them all the stock Android feeling. So see, it gives my Android the stock Android feeling. Another thing that this does when you debloat it, removing Galaxy themes all day, you can still set wallpapers. I made a video about it. I'll link it in the description. Another thing it does is speeds up your device. So, like for example, low end devices, the bloat slows them down. When you are the launcher itself purposely slows down the Samsung device. Well, I noticed that when I ran a speed test on my lower end Samsung device, because this is a lower end Samsung device. When I ran the speed test on it, after I removed it, and even actually it wasn't really a speed test honestly. When I just scrolling through the UI itself, after I removed One UI launcher, it was quicker and faster and more responsive. So see, so that works. Another thing, stock Android, this as much as Google collects data, Google that's the only data Google is Google's data is more to themselves. Like for example, let me show you all something. If you type in Google Photos, I mean Google Photos, search Google Photos, data safety. You see this? It's an independent security review, which is actually verified, so that the security practices are very good. That's why it was done independently, meaning that Google had no say in whether it was good or not. It was this independent security advisors that determined whether it was good or not. But if you don't want to use the gallery at all, type in gallery on the Google Play Store. This one. If you use simple gallery, they don't collect no data at all. And then you can also use a lot of their other tools. They have a calendar, gallery, a messaging app, all of them. So you could all use their services instead. However, the only thing I would say about this is that if you want synchronization, Google Photos synchronizes. That's another thing. Samsung Internet is not just Samsung Internet really. Their services don't sync outside of their ecosystem, which is a way to trap you on purpose. Or alternatively, you could just not get a Samsung device. Period. But the choice is yours. The debloating the universal Android debloater that I gave you all, which will be in the description, is good. Even those who aren't technologically advanced or like tech savvy, I guess you could call it, they can do this. It's easy. Just be careful what you uninstall. Mostly do the recommended tab. Let me show you all. Reduce this one. See, there's different tabs. I would say do not do anything outside of recommended. For those who aren't tech savvy, if you're tech savvy enough, go ahead, do it all. Another thing I would recommend, it's something very important to remove, is Samsung GOS, Game Optimized Service. It optimizes nothing. It reduces the speed. It ensures that your Samsung device cannot get to its highest performance level. So remove that. I would recommend that at the minimum, even if you're okay with Samsung data collection, which I think is pretty creepy. But everybody has what they're good with. But pretty much that's it. Beware of Samsung and their privacy policy. It affects all their devices. The only device I would say from Samsung it doesn't really affect would be their laptops, because it's Windows. The only thing because Windows you can't really fork it or anything like you can Android. It doesn't really affect you. You can't skin it. The only thing is that um, with the Samsung laptop, it would be recommended to remove the Samsung apps on there if you're not in the Samsung ecosystem. And I would say generally you don't really need the Samsung ecosystem. You don't really need to be in it if you're in Google's ecosystem, if I'm being honest. But that's pretty much it for today's video. Beware of Samsung's privacy policy. I said it again. I'll say it again and again. I make videos about Samsung devices, but as much as I do, I don't. If I'm being honest, when I discovered this, I stopped using Samsung services. I debloated my Samsung device. I even have an iPhone that I use my iPhone instead, honestly. But every big company for the most part takes data. It's just about selling it and stuff that makes it bad. That makes the worst part. So as you can see, my Android device, I don't use Samsung services at all. There's other browsers. There's Huawei's browser, but I don't even really use it. I use that if I'm gonna watch stuff because of the special uh, media controls it has. Uh, but that's pretty much it. As I said before, subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on post notifications. Make sure it's set for always, and make sure it's set all for all, not personalized. Personalized, you only is based on your again personal information, the way you watch stuff. So you may get notified, you may not. New videos coming out. Merry Christmas if I don't post the other video before that. Merry Christmas I don't post this video before Christmas. But most likely it's going to be released today, which is the 23rd, or tomorrow. That's pretty much it. Young Speed, I hope everyone has a happy holiday. Happy holidays. That's it. Like I said, Young Speed out.